Hello, St. Peter's. Happy St. Patrick's Day. The day where we wear green, we have four-leaf clovers, we look for leprechauns, see if we can find any. Did you ever catch a leprechaun? Neither have I. They're very tricky. I have a story for you today about a leprechaun. Would you like to hear it? Okay, my friends are all here. They're so excited to hear it. We have Ralph, Magic Monkey, Daisy, and our Pig of Joy, of course, with her jar of joy, so we can spread some joy at the end of our story. Well, today I have a story for you about the luckiest leprechaun. Even leprechauns need luck sometimes. Did you know that? It's true. All right, well, before we start our story, what do we need to do? Let's get ready for the story. Let's turn up our ears so we're ready to listen. Turn off our mouths so we don't make a sound. Put your hands quietly in your lap. Take a nice big deep breath. And now we're ready for our story. The luckiest leprechaun. Before I start, I want to show you something. If I open up the front cover and the back cover, it makes one long picture. Isn't that cool? A lot of times, the front is the front and the back is the back. But in this book, it's the whole picture. So we see a little fairy up there on top of the dog. And we see the dog looking at our leprechaun. Boy, does he look cranky. But the dog looks pretty happy, doesn't she? That's how you see how small a leprechaun is, because the dog is humongous compared to the leprechaun. Our story is called The Luckiest Leprechaun, a tail-wagging tale of friendship. They use two words that sound the same, but they mean something different. Those are called homophones. Have you ever heard of that? Homophones. Because here we have a tail wagging, that's just like our dog's tail, right? That kind of tail. A tail wagging tale of friendship. This kind of tale is like a story. A tail wagging story of friendship is another way you could say it. I think they wanted to use those homophones. And now we learn something new. Lock it in. Tail and tail. Two words that sound the same, but have totally different meanings. And in this case, they're even spelled a little differently. See, you learn something new every day. Okay, are you ready to hear our story of the luckiest leprechaun? Our author is Justine Korman, and the illustrator is Dennis Brunkus. Here we go on our St. Patrick's Day.
Mackenzie O'Shamrock at your service. But you can call me Mac. I'm a leprechaun, and I don't care if you believe in me or not. Get too close and I'll show you who's real with my hammer. I may be small, but we leprechauns are not to be trifled with. There, now that that's settled, pull up a toadstool or a chair if you're too big, and I'll tell you my story.
He is cranky, isn't he? It's a fun story, though. Here we go.
I was born beneath a fairy hill back when time was new. Ever since, I've been making shoes for the fairy folk and guarding my gold from greedy people. Treasure hunters have to get up pretty early in the morning to get the best of Mackenzie O'Shamrock. And since leprechauns work at night and sleep during the day, I'm up much earlier than most. No, they haven't made the human yet who could outsmart me.
And here he is outsmarting some humans. So this knight is searching for him, and he's hiding in the tree, in the knot of the tree. And then this guy's looking for him, and look what he did. He put a toadstool, a big mushroom, on his head to hide. And then this guy is searching and looking in his guidebooks, and he hopped into the water. Look at that. And he's on the other side of the goldfish, so this guy can't find him. He is pretty tricky.
Then people found a new way to boil my potatoes. they stopped believing in leprechauns. They believed in all sorts of nonsense, but the little man making shoes beneath their very own hedge, he couldn't possibly exist. It got so only children and oddballs, like Professor Chester, believed in me. I don't need people anyway. I had a nice home under a tree in a quiet park. As long as I had my gold and my work, this leprechaun was content. Every night I cobbled for the fairies. Since all the little things do is dance and lose their shoes, business was steady. Every morning I'd pack away my tools and curl up in my cozy bed. So he lives under a tree. That's pretty neat. Let's see what happens next. Sometimes these pages are hard to turn. Here we go. And that's just what I was doing one fine morning when I heard a horrible scratching overhead. Dirt poured down on my favorite armchair as a pair of giant paws burst through the ceiling. My thimble collection clattered to the floor. I grabbed my hammer and ran outside to see who was wrecking my home. I expected a goblin or some other horrible monster. Now look at these paws. What do you think might be causing that problem? A dog? I think so too. Do you think that dog knows he lives down there? No, I don't think so. I think he's just digging a hole. That's what dogs do, right? And he's totally messing up his house. Let's see what happens next. I found a shaggy red dog burying a stinky soup bone. Hello, she barked. Who are you? I'm Mackenzie O'Shamrock, I shouted. And you've got some nerve destroying my home. You'll not be stealing my gold, you mangy mortal. So you just take your bone and go. I'm sorry, I didn't realize anyone was living here, the dog said. Is that your gold? It's very pretty. Go! Shoo! Get lost! I shouted. The dog didn't budge. Shaking her head, she said, I feel terrible. I've got to make this up to you. I'll fix your house. I'll be your guard dog. I don't need a guard, I said. But you must need a friend. Everyone needs friends, the dog said. My name is Lucky. What's yours? That's made me even madder. Mackenzie O'Shamrock, I yelled. That's right. You did tell me, Lucky replied. But that's so much to remember. May I just call you Mac? I hope we'll be friends. Everything's more fun when you do it together, don't you think so? Well, just the other day, Lucky would have gone on like that for hours, but I told her to go away and stay away. Apparently, stay was the only command the dumb dog knew. From then on, wherever I went, there was Lucky. She was slobbering over me when I woke up at dusk. She was on my heels when I gathered cobwebs for thread. So because he makes shoes for fairies, they use a special thread made out of cobwebs. And cobwebs are spider webs that spiders have moved out of, so they're just old. I gotta fix my book, I think. Look at the fairies. That's pretty fun. Lucky even tailed me when I made my deliveries to the fairies. And she always had a cheerful word, or 100. It drove me nuts. That dog was even happy when it rained. Rain is where rainbows come from, Lucky said. I love rainbows. Don't you? I could chase them all day. Why don't you go chase them so I can get some quiet around here? I growled. That is a pretty rainbow. Got it. Turn the page. Seems this page is kind of falling out. I'll fix it later. Here we go. After a while, Lucky learned not to talk so much, especially when I first woke up in the evening. I won't say we became friends, but she got to be slightly less annoying. Speaking of annoying, remember that human I mentioned a while back? The oddball who believed in leprechauns? That's right, Professor Chester. Well, he started snooping around in my park. He's after my gold, I cried. Maybe he just wants to be friends, Lucky suggested. I snorted. Humans want only one thing from a leprechaun. Gold. But he won't get the best of Mackenzie O'Shamrock. Professor Chester was getting dangerously close. He even found a fairy shoe. Don't worry, Mac, said Lucky. You've got your guard dog, remember? I won't let anything happen to you. I took no comfort in the mutt's ravings. Do you see that little fairy shoe? He surely is searching for them. I watched Professor Chester poring over his books of leprechaun lore. If only I could prove their existence, he muttered. Oh, I shuddered. Maybe he'll just go away, Lucky said. I thought about packing up, but I liked my cozy life under the tree. Besides, business was good, and it's not so easy to find a park that's filled with fairies. Then, one day, while I was sleeping, the professor found my tree. He was about to capture me and would have gotten me gold for sure when... Uh-oh. Do you think he's going to get him? I'm really nervous. What's going to happen? Woof, 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 woof. Oh, Lucky came charging out of the woods. The professor cried, "Help, monster, help!" He dropped his map and ran off screaming. I thought I was having a nightmare. I rolled over with a groan and fell right back to sleep. Professor Chester just kept running until he wore out the soles of his shoes. It turned out the professor was scared of dogs. Oh my goodness. Wasn't he lucky? See, he's in his bed, sleeping. There's a fairy who's very nervous. And there's Lucky chasing the professor away. Boy, he was lucky that Lucky was there, isn't he? That evening, I woke up feeling something was wrong. For one thing, that dog wasn't licking my face. Suddenly, with a jerk, I remembered the nightmare. I checked for my gold in all my secret hiding places. It was gone. And so was Lucky. Oh, I called Lucky's name until my voice was hoarse, but there was no answer. I felt as if I had lost my shadow and my friend. Oh, no. Then it hit me. My worst fear had come true. The dog wasn't as silly as she seemed. Lucky had duped me into trusting her. As soon as I'd let down my guard, she'd run off with my gold. Oh, I, Mackenzie O'Shamrock, the smartest leprechaun of them all, had finally been tricked out of my treasure. And look, he's thinking that Lucky spent his treasure on a new bow. Now, do you think Lucky took his treasure? I don't know. I just can't see Lucky doing that. I don't know who did. Let's see what happens next. I'm kind of worried. I searched the park for hours, but there was no sign of my gold or of Lucky. I told myself the dog had skipped off with my treasure, but part of me didn't believe it. 1 minute I was furious, and the next I was worried. What if the dumb pooch had chased a rainbow into traffic or gotten herself taken to the pound? Oh, I couldn't even keep my mind on my missing gold. He's really searching, but he can't find her anywhere. By dawn, I was the saddest leprechaun in the world. After centuries of being suspicious, I'd finally opened my heart and, pow, the first friend I'd made had stolen my gold. The sun came up, and I wiped away a tear. Then a voice behind me said,
"Why are you crying?"
"Look." I turned around and saw Lucky and my gold. "Where were you?" I yelled. I was worried sick. Lucky licked my face. "Oh, you do care. I knew we'd be friends." I wiped the dog slobber from my face and grumbled, "I was worried about my gold." He wasn't just worried about his gold. Lucky explained that she'd seen Professor Chester nosing around near my tree. After she chased him away, she'd hidden my treasure in the tool shed just to make sure it was safe. Then, worn out from the excitement, she had fallen asleep. "Did you really spend all night looking for me?" Lucky asked. "And the gold," I added hastily. But the damage was done. The dog knew I cared, and she wouldn't stop wagging her tail over it. So even though he does care about her, he still wants to be grumpy. That silly leprechaun. So, there's my story. Leprechaun gets gold. Leprechaun gets dog. Leprechaun loses gold. Leprechaun admits that a loyal friend is worth more than gold, as long as the friend doesn't slobber too much. Now, if that isn't a tale worth telling upon a toadstool, I'm sure I don't know what is. The end. Wow. Even as cranky and crabby as he is, this Mackenzio Shamrock, he really did love that dog, didn't he? Well, Lucky was a great friend, and she even rescued him. So her name was Lucky, and he was the luckiest leprechaun to have such a great dog for a friend. And what did Lucky love the most? Rainbows. She said she would chase rainbows all day if she could. So I thought, what a great time of year to make some rainbows. It is St. Patrick's Day. The rainbow is a symbol for at the pot of gold. The pot of gold is at the end of the rainbow for the leprechauns. But also, now that we're getting more sun and it starts to rain while the springtime shows up, we're going to see more rainbows in the sky. So we better get ready for all those rainbows. So I decided, well, how are we going to do a rainbow? So many different ways. And I want you to decide what way you want to do. You can make a rainbow outside with sidewalk chalk, which I started to do today. You could paint with watercolors. One of our students painted this for me. So she got red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and all we need is purple. Maybe she wanted to stop with blue, or she ran out of time. But this is with watercolors, if you just have one of those trays of watercolor paints on a plain piece of paper. I'm going to make a chalk rainbow on a piece of paper because I'm not outside. So if you were outside, you could go outside on your sidewalk or your driveway, any place that your parents tell you is okay to draw on. And rainbows are so easy, right? It's just a big stripe. But maybe you want to start from the corner and go down to the other corner. So it makes it loopier. This is chalk, see? So you can really fade it in. If you use chalk and you use your fingers, watch what happens. Can you see it? It kind of gets smeary. Isn't that cool? Have you ever looked in the sky and you saw a smeary rainbow because it's still kind of raining out? I sure have. So then I'm going to put my orange down. Now in my pack of chalk, I don't have yellow, so I'm not going to use yellow. That's okay. But then if I smear the colors together, have you ever seen one of those rainbows where the colors are so smeared together that you can hardly see where one color ends and one color begins? Now, guess what? I don't have yellow in my bucket of chalk, but I do have green. So I'm going to use green next. Instead of having any yellow, I'm just going to put some green. Isn't it cool how even chalk can draw so nicely on paper? Now, if you have construction paper, that would surely stand out with chalk. I just have regular old white paper. I'm going to blend it in again with my fingers.
And then I'm going to do blue. I think I like how this is turning out. What do you think? Is it loud when I do that for you? It's kind of loud here as I'm coloring it, but it's also pretty fun. So I'm going to blend it again with my fingers. I'm only rubbing the two colors that are next to each other, not the whole thing, because I don't want to really rub it all the way down. Then you might not be able to see the difference in the colors, right? And then finally, we can put some purple. You know what? And if you decide for your rainbow that you want more colors in there, or you want to mix up the order, that's okay. I'm not going to be mad about it. It's your rainbow. I want to do my rainbow my way, and you can do your rainbow any way you'd like. I really like mixing those colors together, making it kind of fuzzy. So if you wanted, after you have your rainbow, could just stay just like this. Maybe you could make some raindrops, right? Maybe it's still raining, and that's why your rainbow, the magic of rainbows is they only come out when there's rain and sun at the same time. So on my special rainbow picture, I'm going to have a nice shiny sun and some raindrops. What do you think about that? You could make that one so easily. You can use that chalk on the sidewalk, use that chalk on a piece of paper. Now, you could also make one with markers. I do have markers here. You know how to do that. But the difference is when you use a marker, you are not going to be able to blend it. Because watch what happens when I use my marker. It sure is pretty, right? But I can't smear it around. It doesn't come off, okay? Once your marker's on there, it doesn't come off. So if you use markers, it's going to be much more definite lines. It'll be a very bright rainbow, which also can be amazing. And if you put the colors right next to each other, so you don't see any space in between, they do sort of blend together. So that's two ways. You could use crayons, you could use colored pencils, or you could stick with the chalk. I kind of think that's a really neat way to use chalk. So I challenge you to come up with your own rainbow. And what tools would you use? Would you use paint, chalk, crayons, markers, colored pencils, or do you know something that I don't know? Maybe there's something else you could use to make a rainbow. If you have any ideas, just give me a comment and let me know. And when your pictures are finished, I would love to see them if you send me your pictures. You can put them in the comments or you can send them to my email here at school. Thank you. How about we spread some joy? I feel so happy now that I made a rainbow. I think that's going to boost your spirits already. So even if you just end up making a rainbow and making a lot of rainbows maybe, and giving those pictures to the people you love, boy, that would be a great way to spread some joy, wouldn't it? How else are we going to spread joy? Joy? All right, let's see. Here it is. Thank your parents. I think last week we thanked our teachers, right? You can never say thank you enough. Thank you goes a long way. If someone helps you and you thank them, guess what? The next time you need help, they're going to want to help you again because they know that you appreciated what they did for you because you said thank you. So they can feel it in their heart from your heart to theirs. So I would say make some rainbows. That's how you spread joy. And say thank you, especially to your parents. Think of all the amazing things they're doing for you. All right. Well, I hope you had a wonderful day on this sunshiny St. Patrick's Day. And I will see you back here next week with an all-new fun story and spreading some joy. That's what we do, right? Okay, boys and girls, get out there, make those rainbows, and of course, keep spreading your joy.